Hello again, everyone. This is John Arntz, and welcome to the Business Freedom Formula. Today, our guest is Sophie Ward. Sophie Ward runs a PR agency. I got that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So, Sophie, to start out, are you working on anything exciting at the moment in your
I
business?
actually am, I've managed to get my first client, their first two US articles, which I'm like absolutely buzzing about because I wanted to break America with being from
Okay.
the UK. It's a big
Mhm.
thing for us. So that's been like my big moment recently. And hopefully we can get them on some TV networks because that would be amazing. But yeah, that's kind of where I really want to go is kind of move from UK press over
Mhm.
to the US because, as we know, you've got it all going on over there.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot going on. So, how did you accomplish this?
Yeah, good. I mean, that's a great question. It's a $1 million question. So I think for me, a lot of things with like when it comes to business, for me, it's just networking. Like you have to put yourself out there. You have to make connections. You have to build that trust, build that rapport, put yourself out there, which is a big, big thing. Like obviously you've got to have the confidence to do so, but you meet so many people and they say that you're like your next connection is like the next door that opens for you. And it's so true, like just meeting people online. We're very, very lucky that we have the online world now. They didn't have
Yes.
that, of course, like a few
Mhm.
years ago, even. So, that opens a lot more doors for us to be able to connect like we are today, very simply.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm using that to my advantage. I'm making those connections and networking.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, it's funny how this has opened up because like I was telling you when we got together is that I've talked to people in Australia.
Yes.
I've got somebody booked for the program that's in Pakistan, I believe is where she's from. I know that now we're talking about 12 and 14-hour time differences, which makes synchronizing a little more difficult. But yeah, it's amazing how we're able to do this now. So in this, you mentioned that you work with startups and expose, so you're doing brand awareness and things like that, right?
Yes, definitely. And my friend said it to me the other day. She was like, "It's a bit crazy doing startups and small businesses because they lack the funds. They're
Mhm.
investing in other things." And I'm like, "But this is the time that they need to get clients. They need to get themselves out there, build their exposure. Because as we know, unfortunately, a lot of startups they start up, they've got loads of momentum. In the first 3 years, that's the kind of danger zone almost. A lot of people don't even reach the 3 year mark without like obviously having to close their business because they haven't made clients, they haven't got themselves out there. So it's my job to make sure that that doesn't happen and we build that brand awareness, we build the exposure, they're getting the revenue in that they need to get to make their revenue goals possible, and we keep them in business and we keep business alive.
Yeah, one of the things that I think when I've talked to people who are talking about starting a business, and one of the first things I ask them is, okay, who is your target market? Which
Yep.
sounds, for you and I, that sounds crazy. And they look at me and they, well, everybody. I said, no,
Niche down.
depending on what you're doing. Now,
Yeah.
maybe if you're, you know, a Walmart, it's everybody. But if you're specialized, what is this? And then, do you know a little bit about your client? Your
Yeah,
potential
definitely.
client, right? And people, we always talk about in marketing the demographics and finding your target market, and that's easier said than done. I know I struggle with that, trying to figure out who fits. They tell you to build an avatar. Well, okay, you got to do a lot of groundwork, and that's why I always recommend people don't quit your day job, do the groundwork,
100%.
build build this up slowly, and then wait till you get a good feel for it because you can burn through a lot of cash and have nothing.
I think that is the most important piece of advice you can have, really, is, your business at the start is a little bit of a passion. It's a hobby. It's something that you do outside of the 9 to 5, at weekends, just to
Mhm.
build up some sort of like experience. Like you say, do your market research, get a business plan together of what you actually want. And then at least like I did PR for 8 to 9 months before leaving the 9 to 5. Like, I made sure that the clients were there, they were ready. I'd already had the experience of been working with clients on the side. And I think that's so, so important because, like you say, you have to invest in yourself when it comes to business, and that costs a lot. So, you know, you need that 9 to 5 to be able to have that capital there to put back into yourself.
Sure. And one of the things I have discovered with many business owners is they really don't understand cash flow. I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, it's just amazing that it's different than, I think too many of us, at least in the Western world, we tend to live, and I don't know if this is an expression in the UK or not, but we talk about living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah,
Okay.
100%.
So now with a business, you don't have a paycheck until you get a client. Okay.
Yes.
And then that only lasts as long as you have that client. So you have to keep feeding the clients in. And that's, so you have to understand what your cash requirements are necessary to keep that going and to deal with that. And I've run into so many small business owners that are always seem to be cash strapped. But
Yeah, it's true.
on the other hand, they got a $125,000 truck. And it's like,
Yeah.
you can get by with a $25,000 10-year-old truck to do what you're doing for your business. I deal a lot with where I work, we deal a lot with contractors. You don't need all of that if you're struggling, because when it
And
slows down, how do
I
you make
think
it
what
stop?
gets me as well is when people think, "Oh, you own your own business, you can work your own hours." You're on it all the time. Like, if you don't show up, there's no money coming in. You haven't got a
Right.
team behind you.
Yeah,
It's on you. You've got to
sure,
show up.
sure. You do. And until you develop that clientele to the point where it's kind of building on itself all of the time, it is a struggle. It's never
Yeah.
knowing where the next client's coming from. Um, you know, I know here in the United States, you know, local economies have a lot to do with what you can do. Fortunately, because of what the way you work and the way I work, is we can spread out. So while
Yeah.
the economics might be bad where I'm at, it might be good somewhere else. So it's not an issue.
Yeah.
Um, but if you're a small business, especially if you're a brick and mortar business, it can be a little bit tougher. You have to really know what you're doing with that. So
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well when you're able to sort of work more remotely as well, like you don't have the same overheads. So that's
mm,
makes it a completely different ball game as well. Because I think like you say, if you've got like bricks and mortar, like
yeah,
the overheads can be
yeah.
extortionate nowadays as well.
I mean, if let's think about it, if you've got a lease payment on a storefront that's $5,000 a month, and I don't care if that's in dollars, euros, or pounds, that's a lot of
It
cash.
is.
You have to make a lot of sales just to cover that, not to mention
Mhm.
insurance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it can be
Yeah.
very, very difficult. Um, yeah, so you're how do you go about, without giving away any trade secrets and giving away the store, how do you go about with a small startup, let's say, on building their brand awareness? Kind of how do you approach that?
Yeah, it's an amazing question. So I think the most important thing that I've found is obviously speaking to the business owner and feel like letting them into how like comfortable they are when it comes to media, because a lot of people are not confident in front of the camera, they don't want to show their face, or they don't want to like appear on podcasts, they don't feel like they can speak and things like that. So it's finding what their comfort zone is and then focusing on what we can do with that, in hope that we can build confidence to get to the point where they do feel comfortable being put on a podcast, they do feel comfortable going on the TV and speaking about whatever they do for work. But sometimes it's just putting a news article out there. Sometimes it's about sharing their story on social media and like building that rapport up with their own clients. Because sometimes people come to me and they're like, "Oh, I'm all business. Like I've been doing this on my social media," and I'm like, "Where's the backstory?" Like, and they'll tell me that they've had cancer or they've overcome this and that, and I'm like, that is gold. Like that is heaven in a bowl. You need to use that to
Mhm.
your advantage because that's going to help draw people in. because they're going to see you as a human being and not as a business anymore. And I
Sure.
think that's, again, a big thing for startups is not to just be another business. They have to be human beings and show their
Sure, sure. Yeah,
personality and what they're all about.
yeah. Well, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. One of the one of the books I read many, many years ago that kind of planted the seed way, way back that to do what I'm doing now is a book by Michael Gerber that was called The
Okay.
E-Myth. Okay.
Right.
And
Okay.
it's a great book. Anybody listening, if you haven't read it and you're a small business, I highly recommend it. But one
I
of
need
the
to read it.
one of the things Michael Gerber talked about was when he was talking about marketing, he was talking about things like color. You know,
Okay. Yeah.
what
Like
colors
branding.
are you using in your marketing? What do they
Yeah.
convey? And it was so funny because he was talking about being at this conference where he was the speaker. And he was
Okay.
talking about, and you can see by my background, and I like the fact that your shirt is the same color as this blue. He said there's a
Yeah.
reason IBM went with blue.
Okay.
Okay. There's a reason they went with blue because blue gives people a sense of calm and confidence in the person who's wearing it. He said,
Okay. Yeah.
now, he said, if I thought everybody in this room was going to run out and buy a blue suit, I would be in the business of selling blue suits. That'd be
Fair
out there in the
enough. I
hallway
get,
on a
yeah.
rack, right? So, because he was telling me, look, you have to look at this because sometimes the color may work for you, but it doesn't work for your customer. So he talks
Yeah.
about making small incremental changes and testing them.
Okay. Yeah,
You know,
that's good. Yeah.
like if you have if going back to a brick and mortar store, if you have people who greet customers and you have a certain way, okay, well,
Yeah.
take one of those greeters and change the way they do it and see what happens.
Yeah.
you know and if it works,
Definitely.
great, start rolling that out slowly and make sure, and you have to kind of quantify everything that you do. And yeah, that's a lot of work when you sit
Yeah.
there
And
and say all I
also,
want to do is sell. Well,
yeah, but and also I think like we live in a world now where everyone wants like personalized, tailored approach as
yeah.
well. So you have to kind of work with the client as well on like that basis of like, right, what can I do to tailor my packages, to tailor my approach to
Mhm.
fit this client because they want to feel like a VIP and get like first class service. So you also have to do that as well. So it's all about like you say, like client views. What do you think the client's going to connect with? How can you like make it a great experience for them? How can you build that trust? How can you build that rapport? Like all the time, like that is always the key focus.
And two, I think sometimes like if you have a business where you're dealing with lots of people of different age groups, is you would approach a senior differently than you would approach a young adult in the way
Yeah,
that you talk to them, in the way that and you may have people on your staff that you don't want talking to a senior because no, 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 you stick with
yeah,
because you don't know how to speak to them. Uh,
yes,
I know at this point in my life, with some of the guys I know, um, when I talk with them, they talk with me like a peer, and that's fine, even though I'm twice their age.
yeah.
But
No, that's
when
great.
I go out and when one of our customer comes in and they're an older customer, we have some basis of shared experiences growing up that I don't have with a 20-year-old. Okay. And
Yes.
we talk about, so you can approach people differently and you have to understand that. And I think that's part of it too. There is no one size fits all in business. It just
No,
doesn't work.
definitely not. And I'm very lucky really because I've had experience in remote sales as well. And
Mhm.
like that, the tonality and everything, like you were just saying, like how you kind of match the person's vibe as well. Like I'm naturally quite like high energy, quite bubbly. And
Mhm.
I used to find it really hard if someone was like quite low vibe, like quite like, quite slow, like when
Mhm.
with how they speak, because I'm just like woo, 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 like
Yep.
here, there, and everywhere. But it actually taught me a lot of like how to kind of just respond to everybody and like actually just like tone myself down if they were a little bit lower than me. And yeah, it's so interesting, like the psychology behind it as well, when
Yeah,
it comes to
because
things like that.
yeah, because you're a very vibrant person. I can tell that. And it's funny, like most of the people I talk to on this on my program are more higher energy. I've run into a couple that are
Yes.
kind of lower key and you have to adjust. But it's kind of like if you've ever been in a room full of kids and you've got all of this energy and all you want to do is have peace and quiet, it's hard to do that. So when you talk to when you meet somebody who's kind of this low key and you come in all fired up, yeah, they're turning you off because they can't deal with all this distraction. So you have to, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, you have to be able to read and do that. And it makes a big difference. It really
absolutely.
does. And it's uh it's helpful with that. That is that's really I think a harder thing to do sometimes than most people realize. And years ago I met a man who when I was in another industry entirely, the customers we dealt with, I almost always dealt with the business owner in their office,
Okay.
whenever there were issues in their office. Okay. Well, there was one business owner, and he was in Arizona, and I said to him one day, I said, "Well, how come you're always out in the field and I'm always talking to so and so in your office?" And he goes, "Well, that's my office manager." I said, "Oh," he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I can't do the everyday office management." He said, "But I excel at sales. So I hired an office manager and I go out and sell." Well,
Fair.
the thing is knowing your
Yeah,
weaknesses, knowing what you're good at and what you're not good at.
absolutely.
And then,
Absolutely.
like, for instance, somebody maybe more closer in my age, seniors in that, who may not be good with social media. Maybe you need somebody a little bit younger who
Yeah.
understands it more. Not that they
And
necessarily
also,
know what they're doing, but they understand how
yeah,
to use the applications better than I do. Um,
yeah.
and I have
But
a
I
tech
think also
degree
it's
and
just
I
like
still get
saying,
frustrated.
like, hold your hands up and say, like, it's just not for me. That's
Right.
fine. Like they think, oh, you're a business owner, so you've got to do everything. You've got to have your like fingers in all pies sort of
Right.
thing and like watch over everything. But
Mhm.
sometimes it's just better to have someone who is trained and has skills in that section
Right.
to just focus solely on that for you and just
Mhm.
cover it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think because I mean, we've had customers that we ask them to email us something they did on a house. Say, well, ask your kid or your grandkid. They'll help you figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is sad. But sometimes it's like knowing what you do well and focus there and do the other
Totally.
things. If you're not good with the minutia of detail, then hire somebody who is very detail oriented while you do the overview. And if it's the other way, like if you're focused on a little in details, then hire somebody who can handle the overview and look at the thing as a big. And now I realize when you're starting out, you can't do that,
Yeah.
but you probably have maybe friends or family who can help you, who can fill in those little gaps for you till you get yourself rolling. So,
Yeah, honestly, I think that's been like the biggest thing for me is like I'm again very lucky. I've got a couple of friends in business and just again, online world, hopping on a Zoom call and just spending an hour going through a certain subject that like is absolutely mind-blowing to you, but it's their skill set can
right.
at least just give you a little bit of confidence that okay, this is what I need to do, or they'll give you advice and just like drip feed you
Sure.
little bits of tips and things like that
Mhm.
that just are just golden. But obviously, you can't sort of pay them a fee because you are a startup and you're just finding your feet
Mhm.
yourself. But having those people are just absolute gems. But again, that comes from like networking, just building your connections up.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. So it's those connections are important, and it's also connections in within other businesses.
Yes.
Sometimes meeting other business owners that are in your same boat and sharing horror stories and good stories, or finding complementary businesses that
Yeah.
where maybe you can help each other out by pushing things one way or another. Um,
Definitely.
because we can't be all things to all people as much as we
No,
would love to
no.
be, but we can't.
But I think we're very, very lucky in this day and age because there is a lot of like networking groups online that you can join where like business owners like, They share what they're going through so that you don't feel alone in what you're going through, which is helpful. And also, I think one of my main goals for like 2026 really is to really hit hard on the like in-person networking events. Because
Mhm.
again, I think, then you can find businesses that align with you, you can build those connections. But I think it's just, we're very, very lucky that we've got the option to have online world and
Right.
in-person world, and you can kind of mix the two, and it just broadens the horizon really.
So if somebody stumbles upon my channel and is looking at this interview, how would if they're interested in working with you, how would they contact you? What's the easiest way for them to reach you?
The easiest way is through my Instagram and DMing me, which is Tamzanite PR. So at Tamzanite PR. And then, yeah,
Okay.
my DMs are always open. I'm very quick on social media. I'm very good. I will give myself that credit. I am very good on social media. I reply very quickly. So I will get back to you.
Okay, great. Um, I think I've covered everything I wanted to do. Oh, tell me a little bit. You have achieved some awards for your, share a little bit about that, please.
Yes. So actually, like, I'm actually really buzzing with this because over the last like 9 months, we've had 9 wins and 20 finalist places. So that's like amazing with the 6 clients that I've worked with. So I'm really buzzing about this. But I think the first client I ever worked with was like Done For You Sales Agency, and I still work with them now. But they've kind of been like my babies, really,
Mhm.
because I've seen them grow. Like when I started working with them, they were a year into their business. They basically spent the first year just focusing on getting the sales down, getting clients in, everything like that. And then they kind of came to me and they were like, so we want to go global. We want to get global clients in. We need to put ourselves out there. We know that we can talk because we talk on the phone and on
Mhm.
Zoom all the time. So we just need to get ourselves out there. We need to get some exposure. And we just built it up slowly with news articles, award submissions, and now like it's award season that started like last month, and every single day I seem to be ringing Troy up and I'm like, can you buy your tickets for this awards, like you've been a finalist? And they're like,
Mhm.
another one. Like, where's my suit?
Mhm.
So it's been such a journey to see it, and now they've closed 12 million in sales, they've gained an extra 50 clients. Like, it's been so amazing to see them grow over just 8 months. It's been amazing.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, folks, there you are. If you need some help with your marketing, talk to Sophie.
Oh,
Sophie,
thank you so much. I appreciate that.
very welcome. Well, Sophie, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you
And
for having me. I've had a blast. I've had a great time.
yeah, thank you for being here. And then I wish you continued success.
Thank you. I know I appreciate that so
And,
much.
and
Thank you so much.
if you ever get to the West Coast, let me know.
Yes.
We'll get together for a coffee or tea or
Love that.
something. Alrighty. Thanks a lot. You
Thank
take care.
you.
Bye-bye.